Hey, brothers and sisters, thanks for joining me again today. I want to talk about dangerous knives again. I just did that a couple of days ago. I saw they just passed some new legislation in Australia to ban machetes, and which I think it's very reasonable for somebody to need a machete in Australia. And there's a lot of brush that needs cutting, and a machete is useful for that. But they did. They decided to ban it in some places in Australia, and I just wonder if banning tools is a good idea, because where does it stop? So in general, I'm really not for this. But so let's see what I just found in the Daily Mail, and I'll put a link to this article in the notes. So if you're interested, you can read the full article, but we'll probably read it all. We'll see. I just came across it just like 30 minutes ago, so I've like read it once and then said, you know what, I'm going to talk about this on the internet. So anyway, Daily Mail. This is from August 6th. So that's actually today. Today's August 6th. So this is hot off the press. Gardener walking home from his allotment is arrested by armed police after a member of the public called 999 over knifeman wearing khaki. A knifeman wearing khaki. Ooh, that's right. That's like just right out of like Luther or something. In case you don't know, if you're not from the UK, if you're from the US, or you just don't know about these things, an allotment is generally people won't have a garden at their house. They don't have any land. And so the local council will have some land set aside, and they will allot certain parcels to members of the public who live in the council, to go gardening. That's what people do. People will go and grow vegetables and whatever in their gardens. It's just their gardens may not be right next to their house. So that's all this is. And if you've got a big allotment, you might have a shed on it. You could have a greenhouse on it. I don't know what his allotment looks like. So let's see about this. Gardener walking home is arrested. It's just crazy. The modern world is crazy. All right, so a gardener who strolled home from his allotment was arrested by an armed police after a member of the public dialed 999 over a knifeman wearing khaki. So 999 is the same as 911 in the U.S. It's kind of the emergency police number. Samuel Rowe, 35, had been walking with his trug. Ooh, that's a good word. I don't even know what a trug is. Of vegetables and gardening tools in Manchester earlier this month. I'm gonna have to Google what a trug is. So what is a trug? Okay, that's a trug. Okay, it inquiring minds want to know. So it's a little, it's a basket. Okay, so that's what a trug is. I wanted to know. Okay, so Samuel Rowe, 35, had been walking with his trug of vegetables and gardening tools in Manchester earlier this month when he made the decision to trim his hedge. Mr. Rowe, who works as a technical manager at a theater, whipped out his Japanese garden sickle, which had been strapped to his belt. So I guess that's the sickle right here. And to be fair, that looks like a dangerous knife to me. Okay. And I guess he is wearing khakis, and ooh, he's got like a military web belt on. And check out that hair. Oh man. And oh man, he looks like JD Vance. He's got the mascara on and everything. This guy's trouble. I can tell just by looking at, and look at the watch band. Yeah. And look at the ring. This guy's trouble for sure. But he was interrupted after hearing shouting behind him from two armed officers who insisted he drop the knife. Okay, fair enough. The police then proceeded to ask Mr. Rowe if he was autistic and whether he had ever served in the armed forces. Why would they ask that? Okay, fair enough. They got it into their head I was some kind of extremist going out with knives, the keen gardener said. Okay, so maybe they're asking if he was in the military because maybe he's got PTSD, or if he's autistic, maybe he doesn't understand you're not allowed to go out with knives in the UK anymore. Okay, fair enough. All right, so I can make a little sense out of that. Mr. O explained the tools on his belt were an Milwaukee Hori Hori gardening trowel in a canvas sheath and an Ice Bear Japanese gardener's sickle. So that's probably the sickle. And then so the other one's a trowel. But depending on the type, I don't know what this trowel is. I'm not going to look it up. But depending on what the trowel, well, maybe I will. So hold on. Let's see what this looks like. Let's get all the facts because I don't know if we're going to see it further on down. Milwaukee Gardening Tools. The Gardener in New York. All right. Milwaukee Pori knife. Okay, here we go. I mean that legitimately looks like a dangerous knife, but it is a gardening knife. So I'm thinking that must be the gardening trowel. So that looks scary too. All this stuff looks scary. Look at that. I need a pair of those. So this guy likes nice high end tools. Oh, here's a European galvanized gardening trug. And oh my God, I bet that saw's got to be illegal in the UK. Got to be. Look at the teeth on that thing. So I'm just looking through what other kind of cool stuff. I might have to get some of this. They've got some good stuff. Hopefully it's legal in the US. No, this is US. Of course, this stuff is legal. what was I thinking? I lost my mind there for a second. So these are really nice high end kind of gardening tools. $48 for the knife with a nice canvas holder. A Japanese fruit knife. That looks scary. You could do some damage with that. Yeah, you could kill somebody with pretty much everything on this list. But then again, I saw John Wick. He killed people with pencils. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to this. But yeah, so this guy likes high end tools. He's kind of a high end gardener, or else he's got a lot of money, or somebody's giving him really nice gifts. All right. So Mr. Rowe explained the tools on his belt were a Milwaukee Hori Hori gardening trowel in a canvas sheath and an Ice Bear Japanese gardening sickle. He recalled police had commented, "That's not a garden tool," when he pulled the implement out of the sheath, despite Mr. Rowe insisting it was a Milwaukee branded pouch that you could get at garden centers. Well, I just went to the website. You can buy them in America at a gardening center. Oh yeah, look at the serrations on that. Oh, and look, it looks like it's got just a non-serrated edge on the other side. Ooh, yeah, you can do some damage. That's like a Grim Reaper type tool for sure. Or I used to play Final Fantasy 11. Dark Knight would love that. Dark Knight's really good with scythes. Mr. Rowe recalled it was a good 7 hours before an officer was assigned my case. They came back and said, we've tried contacting this solicitor 3 times and they've not answered. So they weren't able to get him a solicitor. How convenient. They said we can ring him again and start the process again with another solicitor, or you could do an interview without a solicitor. By this point, I was pretty much traumatized. I'd spent hours in a cell with the lights going dim, going bright again over periods of time. I didn't know exactly what time it was. I'd tried getting to the phone, my partner, to let her know where I was with 5 different people. Each time, it was like the first time I'd asked. Then this officer eventually took me out. It must have been about 7:30 or 8 p.m. at this point to let my partner know, and all they did was ring her and tell her where I was. They said, to be honest, it's a courtesy call. We'll ring you back when he gets out. Mr. Rowe was reportedly probed further on whether he was planning on doing something with his tools. Yeah, I'm sure he's got some pretty vicious tomatoes to work on, and those I think those are beets. Those beets, they're gonna take some work. So I'm sure he's got something he's gonna do with those things. He was probed further and planning on doing something, and he was asked to explain what an allotment was. I got to think the police were just playing dumb, or else it was some brand new police officer, young guy right out of school who just didn't know what an allotment was. Doesn't everyone know what an allotment is in England, in the UK, in England and Scotland? If you're in England and Scotland, let me know. I can get where my American viewers may not know what an allotment is, but 100%. I think everyone in the UK knows what an allotment is. So I think the police were just playing dumb there to see if he would say something that they thought might incriminate him. He added, "It didn't fill me with any kind of confidence I was going to be treated fairly. I'd been arrested doing my gardening with what they were telling me was an offensive weapon." Now, I actually get that. These are offensive weapons, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, that looks pretty offensive to me. Yeah, I didn't have to look it up on the website. It appears that these are they've got them in the here in this story. All the way through the interview, I was saying, this is what I had on me. If you look this up on the internet, all these gardening sites will come up with gardening tools. That's what came up for me. It was like newikigardening.com or something. I'll put a link to their website in America up there. I bet I could find one in the UK too. Maybe I'll do that. So maybe somebody will fancy some of those tools. One of the armed officers took one of them out of the pouch, which was branded with the gardening brand, the kind of thing you see hanging on a belt of people at Gardener's World. It's not a weird thing to have on me, but they just weren't listening. Yep. I was explaining I had good reason to take them to and from my allotment. I said, my allotment isn't secure. People can break in and steal stuff as they often do. And yeah, and these tools are nice, and I wouldn't want to give them up. Sammy's partner had given him the $32 weeding trowel. That's probably that thing. That's about right. I think that must be the weeding trowel. Yeah, the trowel. And I think what was it, like $45? I think it was like $45 on the U.S. site for that same tool. I'm interested in it now. Might have to get one. Yeah, $58 with a canvas holster for the pro version. So I think that's about the same. I think that's close. It's about the same price in the U.S. and in the U.K. It's a lot for a gardening trowel. Me personally, I'd probably just go down to Home Depot and get mine, or Lowe's. But well, as a gift, I would absolutely give it as a gift to somebody else who was really into gardening. I think they would appreciate something like that. So his partner had given him the 32-pound Newiki weeding trowel, which was in a sheath on his belt as a birthday present. Yeah, so yeah, he didn't buy it himself, but he likes nice stuff because that's not a normal little sickle either. That didn't come from Home Depot either. The $10 the 10-pound I Spare Gardener's sickle was purchased from an online garden center. Okay, so that's a $10 sickle. So it's not quite as nice as the Japanese trowel. Makes me angry because they shouldn't have. Oh, wait, hold on. While the fruit harvesting tool he still hasn't been given back, which passed down to him by his late grandmother. Oh yeah, I'd want that back. It makes me angry because they shouldn't have it. I'm still upset about her dying, and they just took it off of me. Yeah, so he got into this because his grandma had really nice tools. Samuel has been growing fruit and veg, including rhubarb, broad beans, artichokes, tomatoes, at his allotment since 2022. He was given the patch after a 2-year period on his local council's wait list. Now he's worried the police caution he accepted, that was his mistake right there. He should not have accepted a caution, will appear on background checks if he applies for future job interviews. No, he should have fought this all the way as long as he could to keep this off his record. So that was, he should never have just accepted a caution. They should have forced it on him, basically. What was he thinking? Samuel now wants to see the caution removed. Of course he does. I've done absolutely nothing wrong in the past because I didn't want to have any contact with the police. Yeah, who does? I got a phone call afterwards from Greater Manchester mental health team who were asking questions about my lifestyle, my religion, that kind of thing. Yep. So now he's been reported to all the proper authorities because he might be a danger to the public. It's not a large dagger. It's a tool for digging with. And I kept telling them that. It's not a peeling knife either, because why would I have a potato peeler in my pocket? It doesn't make sense. They must have asked him if it was a potato peeler. I didn't see that in the story. Greater Manchester Police said firearms officers were sent as they were the closest to the scene after they were alerted by a member of the public. The force denies Samuel ever refused legal advice, saying they tried multiple times to contact the solicitor, and he chose to decline legal advice at the end. Yeah, honestly, the two stories line up, and I'm fine with the police responding with armed officers. They do that all the time in America. It's like all of them. But if there's a guy potentially with a knife, a dangerous man with a knife, of course I could see you sending the police with armed officers for that. No problem there. It's just what happened afterwards seems kind of odd. A Greater Manchester Police spokesperson said at around 12:20 p.m. on 3 July, we acted on a call from a member of the public that a man was walking in public wearing khaki clothing in possession of a knife. Okay, fair enough. Nearby officers were flagged down, who directed them towards a male. He subsequently stopped, and a small sickle, a large dagger, which was in a sheath on his belt, and a peeling knife were seized. He was arrested on suspicion of possession of an offensive weapon and taken into custody. Honestly, come on, guys. A reasonable police officer would have talked to him, realized that this was just a gardening implement, and let him on his way with basically at most like an undocumented warning to watch out. But you know what? He was probably scary with that hair and that mascara. He admitted the offense and was given a conditional caution. Yeah, he admitted that he was carrying tools, which entailed advice and guidance around the legislation of knives and bladed weapons in a public place. That's where he made his mistake, right there. Mr. Rowe is now seeking legal representation to try to challenge his arrest, and his caution, as he is concerned with the incident, will affect his future employment, given part of his job involves working with vulnerable adults. The gardener added he should not have been arrested by armed officers, did not deserve it, and his caution should be removed, and the gardening tools ought to be returned. The 35-year-old concluded he might even like an apology, but estimated the chance of getting that are next to nothing. Yeah, he's not going to get an apology, I don't think. It's not that big a story. But he was dumb, right? And the police were dumb in this. Like a reasonable police officer would have quickly come to the conclusion that this was a gardener walking home with his vegetables, and let him go with just a warning, maybe a verbal warning about, hey, be careful, maybe keep those things out of sight because it might, disturb other members of the public. That's what he should have got it worse. Instead, the police decided to get all like, are you a threat to the public? And all that. Took him down for 7 hours over this, and couldn't find him a solicitor. And the mistake he made was he should have just sat there and waited for a solicitor as long as it took. If you got to keep me in here a day, keep me in here a day. Got to keep me in here a week, keep me in here a week. Like fight it right then and there. Once he goes home, he doesn't have as much leverage. They don't really want him there either. He's taking up police resources and time while he's sitting there in their cell. And eventually they're going to have to explain why they held him for a few days with a gardening knife. And his solicitor, I would say if his solicitor was any good, he should be able to get him off with no warning. Just basically, hey guys, you overreacted, let him go. You needed an adult in the room to get the police off of their high horse here. So for stuff like this, I just have to say I'm glad I live in America, right? So in America, this wouldn't really be a big problem. But what you guys in the UK have done is you've allowed the government to criminalize tools. This is a tool. If you watch any of the old kung fu movies, then all the kung fu guys, all the karate guys, all the weapons they use were all gardening implements. All the sais and all that, the bow staffs and all that. And they did that on purpose because, yeah, I get it. They could tell the samurai, oh, these aren't really weapons, they're gardening tools. But yeah, they are gardening tools. But the bottom line there to me is all tools can be used as a weapon. I guarantee you can kill anybody with pretty much any tool. And so criminalizing tools is a fool's errand. And also the other reason I like living in America is we can even have guns. And guns are tools. And guns are very efficient tools at putting holes in things and yes, killing things. But in America, people can have tools almost anywhere. for any lawful purpose. Not just self-defense. You can have them for self-defense, but it's really any lawful purpose. But liberals in America are also trying to ban everything. So it's just not right. Now, to be fair, some knives are banned in the U.S., switchblades and a few other types. I'm not currently up on my knife law, but this would be fine. I could go buy a scythe that looked just like that, I am sure, at Home Depot. Um, and nobody would really bat an eyelid if they saw me with it. I own a machete at my house because because it was good for clearing brush in my backyard when it got overgrown at one point. Clippers to clip your hedges. You could kill somebody easily with those. So again, this criminalizing tools. You guys need to stop this nonsense in the UK and America. We don't need to be do that. Don't let these liberal Karens who are calling 999 and saying there's a dangerous man in khaki with long hair and mascara. Where with a big knife. Don't let these Karens take over in America either. So anyways, that's what I got. And if you like it, like, subscribe. If you didn't like it, don't watch me. But we're starting to live in idiocracy. We really are. Thanks, guys. Bye.